Welcome, everybody, to Counterclipping Show number 252 for December 29th, 2025. This will be the last show on this channel for 2025. So we'll see you all back next week for next year. And we'll talk about what we can hopefully see happening in 2026 tonight, which is our topic. Anyway, we are drinking apropos Highland Park Viking Honor, bottled at 43%. And for Christmas, I actually got a couple things that I'll show you in a second. No games for Christmas, because that is something that doesn't typically happen, but you never know. But I did get some books, and some of them are pretty cool books, actually. So we'll get into all that. We've got a bit of Wargaming news tonight as well. Let me remind everybody to please do like the video if you haven't done that already. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. I even got a haircut, just so you know. Somebody had a good one here. Believe it or not, Blue Ronin Rob, this was almost the title of tonight's show. Either that or next week's show. So it's not been the greatest year, but it certainly hasn't, I guess, been the worst possible year. So if there's thumping back there, by the way, it is the cats trying to get in. So once again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and a big shout out to our patrons, without whom we wouldn't be able to keep doing this, as well as our good friends at Noble Knight Games, the official sponsors of the Counterclipping Show, from whom we will hear in a bit. We'll be rolling out a little RPG segment toward the end of the show, so folks who don't feel like sticking around for that don't have to, but we're going to talk war games first. So, ooh, nice. Yamazaki's very interesting. I have had a Yamazaki, but they have several expressions, and I'm not sure which one it is that I have. So, or that I have tried, I should say. I've never actually purchased it. So, and if anybody wants a link to the Ardwulf Lair Discord server, there's two. There's one that's just called the Ardwulf Lair Discord server for war games, and then there's a separate one for RPGs. So if you want to invite to either of those, feel free to email me. The email address is in the ticker. I have not managed to get the giveaways out yet. That was actually supposed to happen today, and it did not occur today due to difficulties. So we'll be getting those out this week. So I hope that everyone will be pleased when they eventually arrive. Vicky, welcome back to the show. The games are in the other room. I can't keep the cat out because there's no door on that doorway, and it's not a real doorway. It's just like an open space. So it's a little too wide. In order to install a door there, I would have to do some framing, which I don't really want to do, and would also have to consider the effects on moisture in the game room, which I also don't want to do. Usually this door is actually kept open unless I specifically would like the cats to not come in. So in any case, I hope everybody's having a good night this evening, and I hope everybody had a pleasant holiday for Christmas. I guess I got a drinking horn last year for my brother, and he thought, oh, Gary, you'll love this. And I didn't have the heart to tell him, oh, this will go on in the tote with the other 3 drinking horns I own. And this year, I got 2 bottles of mead. This is Viking Blood, Nordic honey wine with dried hibiscus and ginger, which sounds like it might be good. We might even be trying a little bit of that tonight. And this is Odin's Skull, Nordic honey wine with sour apple juice, hops, and cinnamon. That might be interesting, too. I take it that these are Danish products. Yes, they are, in fact, products of Denmark. So I'm looking forward to trying them. To be honest about it, most mead, we'll see about this one. I've certainly had mead that wasn't too sweet, but to me, it's usually too sweet. So anyway, I've thought about this. There's a number of options that I can explore. I've got lids for the table, so I consider the matter handled for the moment. So we had a French whiskey. I think it was called Bastille. And it wasn't very good. So we started calling it the French prison whiskey, as though it were distilled in the prison laundromat. So in any case, let's I guess first tackle some brief news items. Compass Games has put Sensuikon, Japanese fleet submarines in World War II. This is a design by Gregory M. Smith and Brett Grimmond. This has been in the cooker for a long time. This is the counterpoint to Silent Victory with Japanese fleet submarines in World War II. So this is probably going to be really solid if I were forced to guess. So get in on this. $52 does not sound unreasonable at all. Of course, that does not include shipping, but yeah, this is worth a shot. There's actually a meadery in Columbus. I'm trying to remember what it's called because I've been there. I don't remember what it's called. I'd have to look it up. It's been a long time. Oh, no, thank you. No, thank you. I will not be partaking of this particular Swedish delicacy. No, thank you. So yeah, people have been waiting for Sensuikon for a long time. Also up for pre-orders. This is on Kickstarter right now. I'm going to throw a link to this in the chat right now. So if anybody wants to hop over and grab this, they can do so. MMP, as I think discovered last week, MMP has put a couple of ASL starter kit items on their pre-order system as well. Now, it's starter kits 1 through 4. These will almost certainly be reprinted sooner or later. So I don't suspect that you really need to rush if you need any of these. You'll be able to get them again at some point, but now's a good time. The prices are very reasonable. And if you would like Decision at Elst, I'm a bit surprised that MMP is reprinting this. And I certainly would not assume that any future reprints will happen anytime soon. So if you're interested in this for Advanced Squad Leader Starter Kit, you should probably get in on this now. Elst is a British versus Germans engagement on one, as I recall, I haven't played it, one big map, and it's part of Market Garden. So it's a good topic for me. Yeah, it's just one map, 3 counter sheets for some reason, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I've got this. I paid more than $36 for it. I can tell you that. I can tell you that. We're already having a hard time here. So the good thing with ASL Starter Kit is you can it's unlike regular ASL, where I think it is theoretically possible to teach yourself how to play from the materials. I think it's extremely difficult. ASL Starter Kit, on the other hand, I think any competent wargamer could teach themselves to play from the rule books that are provided in the box. They don't use a strict case system, which is a little bit confusing for someone as crusty as myself, but the rules are nevertheless, I think, reasonably clear. They are well presented, and they're a very nice distillation of ASL into the starter kit format. Now, we also have, of course, we got the Battalion S3. This is the BCS magazine. I have pre-ordered that. We also have a reprint of Errata. If you're in the market for that, you should get in on it. And it looks like it has not yet made its number. We also have this On to Berlin, which is part of the International Game Series. And I already opened it. This looks very Axis and Allies like and very un-MMP like, but we'll see how it is. I probably won't pick it up on the pre-order, I can tell you that. No Turning Back, which is Battle of the Wilderness for Line of Battle. I'm on the hook for that. And then Reluctant Friends, Bitter Enemies. This is Sicily on an area movement map. This might be interesting because, or point to point, I should say. This might be interesting because I really like this topic. And it is $75 actually. 1 map, 2 counter sheets, a rule book, 3 decks of cards, and 3 dice. So this is one that I will probably have a look at. These are draft counters. These look these look like draft counters. So we got some pre-orders in. You can also, I don't have a link or screen share for this, but Origins has opened its badge purchasing. So if you're going to Origins, you can now purchase a badge. And I will remind everybody that the Armchair Dragoons digital convention is on January 16th and 17th and I think 18th of January, and that's an online convention that you should go to if you're not occupied doing something else that weekend, because those are a very good event, and I will be helping out with that. Blue Ronin says everyone jump in on Crown and Crescent. So Crown and Crescent is American Revolution. Yeah, this is American Revolution in South Carolina. So this actually sounds kind of interesting as well. I don't have a lot of American Revolution games, but I don't have zero. And a lot of them are point-to-point games. So, oh, nope, no Tuesday News Day tomorrow from the Armchair Dragoons. You'll have to look at last week. Has this made its number yet? This has not made its number yet. This is the kind of thing that doesn't necessarily seem MMP-ish. I don't know. I hope the game does well, and I hope it is good. And it's apparently based on the Angola system, which I don't think I knew that. So thank you, Marty, for letting us know that. I didn't have a food coma. That's not true. On the 24th, I felt like garbage all day because I ate probably 3 pounds of beef the previous evening after Christmas roast. So we had 4 Christmases. We're into the personal news stuff now. We had 4 Christmases, all of which were successful and all of which were extremely exhausting. The most exhausting was, of course, the one we had over here where we had to cook and host people and all that stuff. So that was Christmas roast. I did a big beef roast, which turned out okay. The sides turned out even better. My attempt at Yorkshire puddings was not successful. They did not rise like they were supposed to rise. I've never made them before. I've never had them before. I thought, hey, we're doing a British style roast. Let's do Yorkshire puddings. And they look amazing. And to be fair, everybody ate one. Everybody at the table. There were 5 people at the table, and everybody ate the entire leaden Yorkshire pudding covered in gravy, and they were good. They didn't rise like they were supposed to. So yeah, we ate a lot of beef. So I hope this gets published too. I mean, that's my general answer is like, well, we're not going to find out if this doesn't get published. I hope that it does. Who's the designer of this? This is a Brian Collars, developer Scott Blanton. Okay. So, and I felt like absolute rubbish on Christmas Eve, which is my family's big Christmas day. And then we do my wife's family on Christmas Day. So that's how it normally works. So in addition to the 2 bottles of mead, there was no scotch this year, unfortunately. There was a bottle of bourbon. Where is the bottle of bourbon? Did I bring it down? I forget where it went. It's a Woodford Reserve, so it's not crazily rare or anything. So let me get rid of this. Marty's play tested it, which is excellent. So I tend to get a lot of books for Christmas because I like books, and somebody got me J.R.R. Tolkien's translation of Beowulf, which had not been published until this thing came out. I also got from my nephew the history of the Hobbit, which is kind of like the histories of Middle Earth, but for the Hobbit instead, and it's enormous. And I didn't have this, believe it or not. And my sister, who has just no idea what it is that she's buying me. She has a price limit, and she goes on my wish list on Amazon and picks something appropriate to the price limit. This year, she got me a Grammar of the Hittite Language, Volume 1, I was like, wow, this is definitely my favorite gift. And it's a big book, too. This is an academic book, and it is very detailed, as one would expect. Volume 2, by the way, is like the exercises. So I don't know if I need that or not, but the other one's not as expensive as this. A Grammar of the Hittite Language. How awesome is that? So anyway, that's my favorite Christmas present. My wife got me a propane tank cart, which will be very handy as well. So there's a volume. The volume 2 is just like the exercises and stuff, as far as I can tell. And it's much less expensive. So this does look like, if we're talking about Crown and Crescent, it does kind of look like it might not be great solo based on just the parameters that I see on the page. And that does make a big difference for some people. I got like 5 other books too. I got 2 different books about John the Baptist. I got The Chronicles of the Black Company by Glenn Cook. I've read the first book in the collection and not the others, so we'll see how that goes as well. So, oh, nice. Professor Albion is working his way through Volume 2 of Purnell's History of the First World War, a far more monstrous set compared to the history of the Second World War. Yeah, no kidding. So anyway, good Christmas for me. So say I. And I got Pillars of the Earth too by Ken Follett, which I started listening to in audiobook, and it seems pretty good. So I'm gonna probably read it in physical book rather than dealing with the audio book. Anyway, yes, this is coming soon. We will be conducting the show entirely in Hittite. I told my sister next year we will be conducting Christmas in Hittite. Everybody should study up. So we'll see how that goes. Jason Williams says Pillars of the Earth is a great book. It's supposed to be. There was like a British TV miniseries about it, based on it as well. And there's other books which are thematically similar. They're sort of sequels. There you go, William Aarons. That'll be fantastic. I got super interested over 2025. In again, it's not like this is the first time. In ancient Mesopotamia, the Sumerians and the Hittites and the Assyrians and all that stuff. Although the Hittites were not in Mesopotamia, they were in Asia Minor. So, but ancient civilizations of that general area. So I actually, Hittite is the earliest attested Indo-European language. So insofar as something like Russian or German maybe sound a little bit like Klingon or Dutch, because all three have some guttural consonants that we don't normally use in English normally. But it shouldn't be that weird, because it is, after all, Indo-European, and it should be, I don't know, not that dissimilar from Latin, right? So in any case, we are clipping in case I didn't say, we are clipping inflection point. So all right. Stonewall says Hittites are his favorite choice in AoE or Civ. I haven't played any of the computer Civ games in eons, but Ancient Civilizations of the Near East looks like it's a fairly interesting game. I'm probably more up for playing a board game than on the topic than a computer game, to be honest. I'm not crazy about really any of the ancient world computer games that I have. So this is actually true, and there's all kinds of English has a glottal stop, or standard American English has a glottal stop, for example, and nobody recognizes it because we don't have, there's no like letter that means here's a glottal stop. So if you have ever said uh-oh, you've used the glottal stop. Anyway, I could probably yap about that for a bit yet, but let's try not to. Let's try and reviews. Yeah, stacking limit. Hope you're feeling better. I hope you have fully recovered from this experience. It is okay that you missed last week. Everybody was extremely well behaved, so as usual. So because I think I have really probably scared away all the most serious dickheads. So in any case, we are happy that Stacking Limit is back with us this week. So thank you. All right. So still kind of getting the hang of these. These are new pair of clippers. Thank you. You know who you are. In 2mm. And the feel of them is a bit different than the old ones. But the blade's also a lot sharper. I suspect that the blades can be sharpened in these, but I haven't actually tried to do it. If I'm going to try, I'm going to do it with the 2.5mm. Dan couldn't make the show last night, so we did cancel. But Dan is fine as far as I'm aware. I heard from him. Everything is cool. So I slept on the other hand, I've broken plenty of clippers, Perfidious Albion. The deluxe clipper broke. These things, I've actually broken the spring on one of these, but you could just replace the spring. That's not a big deal. So, but no, I'm just experimenting with this new one, which I think has a little bit better rounding profile, but I'm still getting the hang of it. And these non-deluxe clippers do take a little bit of getting the hang of, and I haven't been clipping outside the show. So had I been clipping at one of my previous paces, I'd have clipped 5,000 counters between now and last week, and I would be, it would be perfect. So, but I'm not mauling any counters at this point either. Again, the trick with these things is if you feel like it's catching too much, back off and rotate to a different corner and come back to the one that it caught too much on. So, and that continues to be good advice with these clippers. So this sounds, yeah. I did not easily get out of. Today was the first back to work day after the holiday because I took the entire week off last week, and I did not easily get out of bed this morning. I can tell you that because I got used to sleeping in, to 7. So All right. Excellent. Excellent. Outstanding. All right. So Brand's pimping for the fall assembly. I will mention too, Joe Press has brought this up. There is a big Steam sale on right now, and I think it's going to run till like January 2nd or 3rd, sometime next week, or maybe Friday. I don't know, Friday maybe. And there's some good stuff on there. Mark Herman's Rebel Fury is on sale, for example. That's worth your time. There's a bunch of other stuff on sale that's also worth your time, and we may even go through some of that. Both Matrix and Slytherin have some interesting looking things that might be coming up. The John Tiller sequence, which is now from Wargame Design Studio, I think they've got something coming up. Brant will know exactly what it is if I'm right. And I've been seeing more videos about the John Tiller games lately. Maybe I'm just subscribed to the right people. Tony from Tony's Board Life is here. Oh God, no thanks. I still have my wisdom. I have all 4 wisdom teeth still. So I picked up, all right, Danny Secretary says that the Steam sale is good till January 5th, which is something like next Monday or Tuesday. I looked through it before Christmas and I was like, I don't know, man. I'm not really playing much. I'm on Linux now, so that's like a concern, but it's a minor concern. I did over the long weekend play a bit of No Man's Sky, which did crash once on me. But otherwise is performing just fine. Wouldn't run at all, at least with no modifications or troubleshooting on Linux Mint, but on Nobara it runs fine with no issues other than that one crash. I think Redwood Wargaming is absolutely correct on this. I do think that Wargame Design Studio is doing a good job from what I can see so far with the John Tiller properties. That makes me pleased. And yeah, they did the Armchair Dragoons on their podcast, Mentions in Dispatches, not the same as the other podcast called Mentioned in Dispatches. I was consulted, they didn't listen to me, but it is nevertheless an excellent podcast that you should all be listening to. And they did a show with the Wargame Design Studio folks previously in November, so not that previously actually. It's worth a look. The user interface on the John Tiller stuff is really not good, but I hope that WGS can improve that. So I kind of looked at my want list and looked through the store and like, I don't know, I'm not really feeling anything here. And what I ended up buying after Christmas was a bunch of DLCs for X4 Foundations, which I have never put anything resembling serious time into, but now I'm considering it since I spent about $35 on DLC for it. So, and Redwood Wargaming can vouch for that particular podcast episode. So it's worth a look. If you're into video war games, I think Wargame Design Studios should be on your radar, if nothing else, even if you are hesitating until you see the exact right thing to push any buttons. So what's going to happen for Wargaming in 2026? Everybody else should post in the chat what your Wargaming plans are for the year. I actually did a video on this show last year about, hey, here's some games I want to play this year. And I think I played, of the 10, I think I played like one of them, maybe 2. So it was not an entirely successful Wargaming year in that respect, but I have no complaints about the games that did get played. So at least not about the games. So there are some very, very similar colors here amidst to the German units. So of course the first like real big game that's going to get played is going to start happening anyway at the end of January at Winterfest, when we will bust out after many years of anticipation, World in Flames. That is going to be fantastic. I've got the boards set up here right now, and my efforts to get something going before Christmas didn't happen. So the time frame available after Christmas is fairly narrow. So Joseph Syverson is Wargaming plan of playing more RPGs. So I'll talk about this later, but in the show, Army of the Potomac looks fantastic. I was incredibly lucky to get to play it with Mark at SD HistCon last year, yeah, and it's really good. It's really good. It really showcases, I think, the maneuver strengths of the system. World War One. I'm very interested in seeing this. Stacking Limit is going to play Last Blitzkrieg and Panzer's Last Stand. I can't vouch for Panzer's Last Stand just because I haven't played it yet. It looks good. I can absolutely vouch for Last Blitzkrieg, which I think at this point is my favorite build. I haven't played as many Belgian games as a lot of people have, but of the ones I have played, I think Last Blitzkrieg is my favorite. Imperial Elegy. I don't feel like I've got a good communication channel with VUCA stuff because I didn't hear about this until it was like out, and or at least until somebody started doing video on it, and it looks very intriguing. Very interested in that. Perfidious Albion's going to play a number of ASL Kursk scenarios from Crucible of Steel. I think that's from Bounding Fire, a third-party ASL publisher, and one that is fairly well regarded as ASL third-party publishers go. Another thing that I want to do is that in 2026, I'm gonna hold off on the RPG stuff until the RPG segment toward the end. But another one of the things that I really want to get to the table again is the East Front series from GMT and designer Vance von Boris. And in fact, that it was something that was like in the process of getting set up, and then it developed that we would be playing World in Flames. I didn't actually set it up. What did I have set up? I had one of the mid-size scenarios for Army Group Center. I had the maps down on the table, and I started picking through the counters, and it didn't get any further than that because then I tore it all down and put World in Flames up instead, which fits delightfully on that table, by the way. Yeah, well, apparently not. Apparently I've got to pay closer attention to Tuesday Newsday, right, Brent? Just like everybody else. So Charles Latorra, 15 to 25 games, mostly hex and counter. And my big goal, though, for Wargaming, aside from the fact that I'm going to get to play Whiff again, which is very exciting by itself. This is 60th mech. Yeah. My biggest Wargaming priority for 2026 is going to be getting Wargaming happening here. So I don't know that that's going to be a regular thing necessarily. It'd be nice if it was, but if it isn't, well, I will be satisfied if occasional Wargaming gets to happen here in my beautiful game room. So Perfidious Albion still needs to source a copy of EFS Crimea to complete the set. I am also really looking forward to the updated Typhoon. Typhoon was my introduction to the series back in the day. I think it was a very good game back in the day, and I'm very interested in seeing an updated take on it using the, I think, improved EFS rules that we've seen in the last couple of new editions. And Typhoon has been out of print for longer than any of them, so. Half-Ass Gaming, John, thanks for coming by. He'll be attempting a Victory Games carrier playthrough on the channel, which is fantastic. Henry Sikorsky's he's playing the intro scenario for Air and Armor. That sounds pretty good. Super Devil Doctor has a 2-play list, including the Kaiser's High Seas Fleet, Berlin 1945, I, Napoleon with the Limits of Glory expansion. I would like to play I, Napoleon 2, to be honest. And that might be a good so part of the the idea of doing gaming here again is to include some gaming that makes it to the channel again. So I would like to do that, and I, Napoleon is one of the things that is on that list of considerations. So but we will see exactly how that plays out. So let's see. Panzer may be a 2027 project for Stonewall 435, building a golf course all summer. Well, yeah, everybody's got to have a hobby, right? Let's see. Vince Ree has reacquired the Assault series, except for the Reinforcements expansion, which I'm not sure if what Reinforcements includes, to be honest. I never had that. I had Assault and Boots and Saddles back in the day, and those were the only two that I had. There were at least 2 other boxed games in that series. The names of which escape me at this exact moment. And then there was Reinforcements, which was just like more something. I don't know what. I guess more units. Yeah, I would also like to play The Last Gamble as well. I don't have a strong feeling that I am going to get to it this year. However, we'll see what's going to happen with that. Three Dog Deluxe will unleash an orgy of GBACW for the rest of the year. Yeah, it will be easily possible for somebody to pick up a game like that, which we ought to see in late Q1 or something like that, and spend the entire rest of the year playing it. I think that would not be shocking in any way. Thank you, Vince Reed. Bundeswehr and Chieftain are the others. Bundeswehr was the West Germans. Chieftain was the British, as I recall. Albion's asking about the new version of IDF that's coming out from GMT. I'm not sure I have a timetable for that. War in the East 2. This is actually on sale on Steam, but like the regular retail is like $80, which is it's expensive, but frankly, AAA games tend to cost $70, sometimes $80 now. So maybe it's not that expensive. It is on sale for something like half off at the moment. So now is the time. It has been going on sale fairly regularly of late, though, which traditionally had not been the case with those Gary Grigsby games. I've played a decent amount of the first War in the East, and I thought it was quite strong. Very interested in, but I've got War in the West, which has the new air system that is now also in War in the East too, and I can't rock the air system, so that's what is preventing me from spending the $40 at the moment. So Tuesday News Day is available at your friendly local armchairdragoons.com website. John MC, 2026 plans include Combat Commander 20th Anniversary, Poland 39, and Holland 44. Very interested in seeing somebody, might have been Carl, posted a picture of the new OCS Poland 39 game somewhere, and that looks very exciting. I'm very excited about that. Jason Williams plans to play by Sword and Bayonets in anticipation of Three Dog. And the nice thing is you're not going to necessarily tie up months and months and months and months with the battles in by Swords and Bayonets. So you will be ready when Three Dog Deluxe comes out. So Iggy Crichtel, what are your choices? I mean, Holland 44 or Panzer Leader Arab Israeli Wars? I would take Holland 44 there. I don't feel like Panzer Leader is. I've got enough other stuff on the topic of at least the 73 war that I don't need to dip my toe into Panzer Blitz Arab Israeli Wars. And meaning I have one other game on the topic, which is Valley of Tears. Actually, that's not true. I got October War, the old October War from S&T as well. And I might try that. But I don't know. I'm not that excited about going after that. But nothing wrong with Panzer Leader. It's just not something that's going to occupy my attention nowadays. That is correct. Not the same game at all. In fact, I don't even know what the game from the Mod Quad covers, to be honest. All right. Iggy Crichtel is playing Valley of Tears already. Fantastic. That sounds great to me. I have heard that it's pretty difficult for the Arab side, but that surely has something to do with player experience levels as well. It's kind of not particularly difficult to screw your position up in BCS, such that it's hard to recover from, I think. Sometimes that'll just work out between players of similar experience levels. But if one player knows the rules better than the other, a lot better than the other player, and has kind of internalized the way that operations work in BCS, then that person's probably going to wipe the floor with the other person. And I have no idea who was playing what in the game I heard about. So, Perfidious Albion says that instead of playing Avalon Hill's Arab Israeli Wars, he played the Mech War 2 system, which is a lot better. Now, I got that too. So I guess that makes 3 games I have. Suez to Golan. So I've got that too as part of Mech War 2. So I actually would be more tempted to try that than I would the Avalon Hill Arab Israeli Wars as well, to be frank. All right. So Brant says that the Modern Battles Quad from SPI, the second one, had this game called Bundeswehr, which is North German playing with commies versus the Germans and the British. Rare NATO versus Warsaw Pact game with no Americans in it. Also designed by a woman. I'd have to look at that. That's very interesting. So, oh, okay. Well, like I said, I'd pick Holland 44. I think Holland 44 is really good. It's a really nice, not too long, not too intense, but nevertheless plenty to chew on market garden game. Mike Berticelli, Mike, thanks for stopping by. He says a different Assault series. This is Assault Sicily 43. That's I've seen that. And I think they have another game or maybe two in the series out at this point. And it looks pretty solid. 71st Infantry is what we're fooling with at the moment here. I'm trying to keep these organized as I clip with mixed success. I generally feel like that Mark Simonich operational series of games or whatever we're calling it this week is really a really strong series. I don't know that it is a revolutionary, although the Zachbahn system, the determined defense mechanic, those are not novel mechanics. But I don't know that it's like a big paradigm shift in wargaming, but they're just really incredibly solid, well done war games. Virginia Mulholland was SPI's Bundeswehr. Thank you, Vince Ree. Pretty Albert says that the beauty of Mech War 2 is the emphasis on doctrine and command control, something not in the Beer and Pretzels game, which I would say that any fork of Panzerblitz is going to be. A new air and armor system will likely succeed this design-wise. I really would like to take a closer look at the new air and armor. It just hasn't occurred yet. So at some point it will. So I am behind. Italy 43 is the new one. Yeah, Italy 43 is the new one from Simonich in this sequence. I have not picked this up yet. I will pick it up at some point, probably from our good friends at Noble Knight Games, would be my guess. So, and as Danny reminds us, everybody, hit the like button. It is much appreciated and helps to support the show. We are in 11th Panzer somehow now, okay? I'm not sure that I'm sorting these properly, but it's not critical. And Bruce Maxwell, the designer, will be teaching Air and Armor at the ACDC in a few weeks. Brent, I have completely blocked off that entire weekend because I need to, because I'm running so many things. I'm not really running anything. I'm hosting a number of conversations. So these look unless I'm thinking I'm getting the series from John Tiller mixed up, which is not at all impossible. These feel more detailed to me than Panzerblitz Panzerleader. But again, I could be wrong. So this is a good question. I'm still hearing from people who have gotten their orders from the previous shipment over the last couple of days. So I suspect that the answer might not be yes yet, and I don't know why. But they're going through some shipping changes the way they ship things, and I'm sure that is slowing them down to some extent. Everybody will surely get their games in the fullness of time, and if you don't, then you call GMT up and they'll fix it. So it's going to be fine. There's no reason for panic. All right. Charles Latore wants to get Avalon Hill's submarine to the table next year. So I think that this is going to be an after Winterfest thing, but one of my gaming buddies down in Columbus has offered to kind of do a sort of a semi-regular walkthrough of various old classics from Avalon Hill and SPI, mostly from the early 70s. And I'm actually quite excited about that idea. Who the hell is this? This is Third Motorized. Okay. I'm actually really excited about that. Among the games on that list are 1914. We don't intend to necessarily play through the entire game in any of these cases. I think we're going to do Submarine, which I'm interested in, Midway, which I'm interested in, might even do Bismarck. We will see exactly what that turns into. Real Time 01 says that got Next War Taiwan 3 weeks ago. I got my order from that shipment Let's see. I got my order from that shipment like maybe it was 3 weeks ago. I don't know, but I've had it for a while. I just got the counter sheet for Battle for Normandy. So, all right. So, John Davison says that reinforcements is new U.S. and Soviet units and a point system to design your own scenarios. One of our buddies from the Central Ohio area is a big fan of the assault system. So that's fantastic. Thank you. That is the dice tower I was using during the Traveler game this past this past Friday we didn't play because I correctly realized that I was not going to be in any kind of shape to do that after 4 days of running my ass off. So we did not have a game this past Friday, but we did. I actually think that they couldn't get this printed in China. So I'll be very curious to see an unboxing of this new edition to see if it's measurably different in component quality or anything like that. So we're just old, Denny. I'm sorry, but we are. Yeah, it's an interesting looking game. It's an early war game. We probably will even do like Tactics or Tactics 2 or something like that. Perry's Propolis, thanks so much for the support. It is much appreciated. So platoon level tactical is totally the same scale as Panzer Blitz, Panzer Leader, Arab Israeli Wars, but I think it's just a more detailed model than that. So Anna Misnick mentions that Bruce Maxwell teaches Air and Armor at Compass Expo. If I'm willing to risk COVID once again, I will probably be back at Compass Expo at some point. But at this time, my only firm plans of conventions that I'm going to are Winterfest and Origins, and that's it. So we'll see if I stick to that. But right now, that is in fact what it's looking like. Oh. That's good stuff. In any case, I think I do want to try. Well, we'll flush this glass out a little bit. Otherwise, it's going to taste like peaty scotch. ArtyCon, I'd like to do it, but it doesn't feel like it's going to happen in 2026. Let me put it that way. At some point, we might do it. I don't know. All right. Vince Reese says that one of the issues of the general had solitaire rules for submarine. That's interesting. So Empire Musk says that the new Flying Pig sequel to Armageddon War was printed in China. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm not familiar enough with that to even say if that would be a sensitive thing to get printed in China. Where next to Taiwan, yeah, you can see that. All right, so let's try Odin's Skull. I don't know how this is going to be. Like I said, most meads tend to be a bit too sweet for me, and it is hermetically sealed. So we're not going to be able to just wring the thing out of it. All right. Real Times played Bundeswehr face-to-face at the SPI Fest last July in Lancaster. Fought to a draw. That looked like an amazing little event. This may have sediment in it, by the way, which would not be particularly surprising. Smells okay. Not really the right glass. A little bit cloudy, as mead often is, unless you put a clarifying agent in it. Smells like a cross between Skittles and that florist's foam. So we'll see what it tastes like. Let me think on that. John C., thank you so much for the support. He will be at Compass Expo in May, so maybe I should be there too. We'll see. May's not a great time for me, but we'll see. This will be Consim 25. I thought that was last year. I thought last year was the 25th. But don't ask me. I've never been, so it would be. And I might have a lead on somebody to room with, which would make it more doable. Very light flavor compared to the scotch, let me tell you. My counter clipper Gray Company 11 is the Oregon Laminations standard, not deluxe, 2mm counter clipper. I have four of these now. I have a 2, a 2.5, and a 3. The 2 gets by far the most use. Yeah, well, I'm not going to drink very much of it. I can tell you that. I won't drink much more than this. This isn't bad, actually. This is not bad. I think I should probably, it says serve lightly chilled. So there's a bunch of Norse bullshit on the back of this, but we will see. But it's not bad. And it isn't too cloyingly sweet like a lot of meads are. So, all right. And of course, we are going to get started with the Charles S. Roberts Awards basically next week, I think. We'll get started moving on the 2026 process for the 2025 awards. I remember the cancellation, and maybe that's why the math works out wrong. That could be. I will just point out that if you can look at my ugly mug for 2 hours every week on Monday nights, then nobody else has anything to worry about. So in my case, I wrote in Sharpie and then covered the Sharpie with clear nail polish, the size of the clipper. The boxes, the clipper itself does not say. The boxes do, but the boxes are all the same, and they just have like a sticker on it that says 2, 3, or 2.5. So, oh yeah, I guess that's true because an Origins got canceled too, and that was mucho drama when that occurred. So, yes, I'm aware of this brand, but I thought that my calculation of the 25th was more recent than COVID. That's all. That's all I'm saying. But it might not have been. This does. So, all right, I guess this gets asked, and I actually haven't talked about this in a long time. So there are 2 different types of Oregon Laminations corner rounders in appropriate sizes. You got this thing. You'll notice the wooden handle because the original plastic handle broke. I have a second one out here waiting for a wooden handle because the original plastic handle broke. Some people say that you can glue a die in here to keep you from closing the clipper all the way. The new one that broke had a die glued in there. It did not fix the problem, and it wasn't incredibly old. There are at the same time people who've clipped millions of counters with this exact thing. So while I think there is a design flaw in the way the handle is designed and cast out of plastic, sometimes the plastic's good quality plastic and sometimes it isn't. So you're rolling the dice with those clippers. When the time came to replace that clipper, the clipper that I just put back in the drawer, I replaced it with the standard clipper. And I have had that other standard clipper for like 10 years. It's clipped probably 1 million or 2 counters. It's clipped an enormous number of enormous games, and it is impossible to break. Except that, like I said, you can wear the spring out and the spring snaps and you got to replace the spring. But that's a new spring. You can order that from Granger or somebody like that. This does take a little more getting used to than the big deluxe one, where because of the way that's designed, it's really kind of impossible to get a bad clip out of it. It is possible to get what we call the swish clip. If I try to do it intentionally, there's no way I'll be able to do it. But you'll basically take out, you'll be a little bit off the corner and you'll take out a little bit of that one edge of the counter as well. And it's pretty noticeable on the clipped counter if you're looking for it. If you're not looking for it, you're probably not going to notice it. You do have to get used to this. There's a couple different ways that people have done that. They, for one thing, can use it upside down so that you can see exactly where in the slot the counter is sitting. I prefer to do it by feel. At no point do I put a lot of pressure on the counter. The counter goes in, slides in, just gets tucked in. I just holding it in place, clip, rotate, hold it in place, clip, hold it in place, clip. And at any point you get used to how much resistance the counter is giving you. And the different counter materials do offer different resistances, but that's a thing you kind of learn by manufacturer. So if I feel like it's grabbing too much counter, I just back off, rotate the counter one more time, put the next corner in, do that, and come back to the corner that gave me trouble. And invariably, that corner clips fine the second time. So this is probably, it might be I don't clip as much as I used to. But in part, that's that a lot of my games are already clipped. In part, that's just because of other time commitments that seem to keep me from clipping counters while I'm not doing this show. So Denny's had his deluxe forever with the dice taped on, and he's clipped over 9,000 counters with it. Mine broke after about 6 months of use, and there were at least, now in fairness, the game that broke that clipper was Field Commander Napoleon. And if you've seen the counters on that, you'll understand it instantly why that broke it, because those counters are insanely thick. Those counters are like battle line thick counters. They're crazy. So I prefer the one that takes a maybe slightly more skill, but that will not break on me after a couple of months. The other one I didn't use it that much. I usually would use these things, but there were certain times when a counter would be too thick or something like that, where I would end up using that one. So I probably only clipped 2 or 3 games with that thing before the fucking handle broke again. So I'm just not a fan. The other thing with this one is because of the way the slot that you slip the counter into is designed. Let's see if I can stick a counter in there so you can actually see it a little better. That slot has a discrete thickness, and some games have counters that are too thick to fit in that slot, and that's why Field Commander Napoleon was getting clipped on the big clipper and not this clipper. So now, on the other hand, I'm not giving up. I know Stigler is anti-clip. But I am pro-clip because it makes the game look nicer, and I like the game to look nicer. It's not necessarily more complicated than that. To be honest, Gimpy once said that the reason he clips counters is because he's making videos and he wants the game to look nice for the videos. I'm like, I never thought of that. I clip counters for me. So, no, I never got around to this. So... yeah, so these are, I mean, back in the day, we all used nail clippers, right? Justigard is a big fan of this particular brand of mead. And like I said, this is, where is it? This is Odin's Stall, which is very dramatic. And it's pretty good, actually. It is 16%, 19% alcohol. So, more of a wine, cool bottle too, I gotta say. Probably save the bottle and probably give it to the wife, and she'll find some crafty type thing to do with it. So there's no way I can show you this, but let me see what I can do as a test counter. I just had to rotate. So the real answer to Jeff T's question is not very much at all. So that is the finished counter, and I hope you can kind of get a sense of just how much you're taking off. But the actual piece is that you are not clipping very much off. And unless we're talking about counters that are very badly misregistered, I have never felt like I'm going to accidentally lose important information off the counter. The T-shirt you've never seen, apparently. The classic 1983 Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's what the shirt is from. Those are pretty thick counters too, as I recall. But I wouldn't necessarily assume this. I mean, at least this 2mm model takes off very little. So without an actual example to work from, it's impossible for me to say, but you're probably okay, actually. So, yeah, I got 2 bottles of Justigard. I got 2 bottles of this for Christmas. One is Odin's Stall, and the other one is Viking Blood, which actually was the one that sounded better to me. I intentionally picked the one that didn't sound as good. This has hibiscus and ginger. I like ginger. Hibiscus smells nice. we've got hibiscus trees in the yard. So, Brant, thanks for stopping by. So, yeah, I don't, my guess is, without actually having the counters in my hands to test, my guess is that this wouldn't be a big problem. And you do have a couple of different sizes of clipper to deal with, just in case that's a concern. Not this evening, no. I may have some more of this, but yes, I can attest that Brant's wife is in fact better looking than the rest of us on this show. So no, but I might do it on another show. We'll see what happens with that. There is I'm trying to think of another game. Maybe I'd be more concerned with, I think there are arrows in the corners of the counters for Red Storm, or at least some of the counters. And I think I would be okay with those particular counters. Joe Perez points out, and this is true, Labatight counters for Marshall Enterprises. I have 3 games from Marshall. I have 2 or 3 games from Marshall Enterprises, none of which have been clipped at this point. Technically, I've got 3, but the third one, oh, there's 4 actually. The third and fourth ones are the ones that they produced in collaboration with Against the Odds magazine. So those went through the usual Against the Odds / Clash of Arms printer, and not through however Marshall Enterprises is doing it. The counter designs are the same, but the counter stock is not. So Ed Holtzman clipped Red Storm and it came out fine. Now I'm completely cool with you know, the printer doing the work for me, and I don't have to round the counters myself. That's great. But in the meantime, especially if it's a game that I am confident is not going to walk out the door, and that I want to play, like Inflection Point, that I would prefer them to do it. All right, Dave Poirier can clip Marshall Enterprises games with 2mm, no problem. Like I said, I haven't checked it. I could pull one off the shelf, but I'm not inclined to do that. So I do think that Red Storm reprint will happen. So speaking of that, that is a game I don't have on order. I got, wait a minute. Yeah, okay. I've got like all the stuff for Red Storm, barring the new expansion that's coming out, and somehow the actual game got lost. I don't know. I might have given it away. I don't know, but I didn't think caraway mead. That sounds intriguing. My wife would hate that. She hates caraway seeds. But I would like it. I've made my own mead. It's a pain, but I don't want to say it's a pain. It's not really that it's that difficult. It's that mead in particular is pretty difficult to do well. Because there's generally only 3 ingredients: water, honey, and yeast. So if you're doing something else, this would be I forget what the name of mead with herbs and spices in it is. There's a separate name for that. I believe this is correct, and you can see. And if you can see the blade on here, this is again the 2mm. So that looks about right. But visually, I can tell the 3 apart from the 2 and the 2.5. But the 2 and the 2.5 are hard to tell apart just by looking at them. So yeah, I've got the expansion, and I've got the third-party stuff that came out, including all the cards and all that stuff. So. Metheglin. Yeah, that's one of the different types of mead. I got braggot in my head, which is mead made with hops, which the other stuff actually, wait a second. Where does this keep going? This does have hops in it. So that makes this technically a braggot. I don't think hops are a bad idea. There's not a lot of hops in this, but I could tell there's a little bit. And it's gluten-free, so we're safe from the gluten meanies. All right, so it is about 9 o'clock, folks, and that means that it is time to hear from our good friends at Noble Knight Games, the official sponsors of the Counterclipping Show. So I will try and get caught up a little bit on the chat, and let's hear from our good friends at Noble Knight.
Here at Noble Knight Games, we've been carefully growing the world's largest selection of board games, role-playing games and dice, war games, miniatures and paints, card games, and more, going on 25 years now. Our rustic castle contains more game and hobby goodness than you can shake a stick at, complete with careful packaging and the finest customer service the land can provide. You can buy, sell, trade from anywhere in the world, just like nature intended. Noble Knight Games.
All right, and that reminds me to get the giveaway games from 2 weeks ago out this week, because I cannot afford to have them hogging my game table, which is currently where everything is at. So, Danny says that for ASL, he uses 2mm on the small counters and then 3mm for the vehicles. The problem I have with that is that, like a lot of these goods manufactured in the country of origin, the tolerances are somewhat flexible. So my ASL counters, the newer ones anyway, the old ones don't have this problem. The newer ones, actually, I have trouble fitting them in the slot of my 3mm clipper. This was my intention as well at one point, was to use 2mm. That's why I bought the 3mm clipper. 2mm on the 1/2-inch counters and 3mm on the 5/8-inch counters. That will work great. They look great, but it unfortunately just doesn't quite work. So, apparently Noble Knight's been getting too much money from them for us. I sympathize very much, and I hope that you are using the affiliate link listed in the video description, because that gets me a little bit of kickback in the form of store credit, which is really helping. So, and that is going to be how we eventually acquire a copy of interesting of Italy 43, for example. Hopefully fairly soon, but we'll see exactly how that works. So I fully sympathize. I too am also a regular customer over there. And it's nice to, the reprint of Red Storm plus another expansion is on P500 right now. Dale Brady was in the SCA as well. Awesome. I've made it like 3 times, and two of the batches were just gallon batches, so they went away fairly quickly. They were like quickie meads. I made a big batch, and it was, in the 5-gallon carboy and all that stuff. Unfortunately, so here's what happened. It's like, I don't know, 7 p.m. on a Saturday night or something like that. So I did all the stuff, pitched the yeast. Turns out it was still too hot. I killed the yeast. So I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't really think I can let this just sit overnight, can I? I'm out of yeast. So instead of going back to the brew store, because it was 7 p.m. on a Saturday night and I couldn't, they were closed, I went to the grocery store and bought that big cake of yellow or red brand or whatever it is yeast, and used that. And let me tell you, that mead was terrible. It became okay after sitting and aging for 2 to 3 years. It was much better at that point. I made my own beer a couple times too, and that's actually, it's more complicated, but I feel like it's actually easier to get a good drinkable product out of at the end. So, is Red Storm Southern Approaches at the printer? I don't think so. It's on P500. I can confirm. So, you and Dan have been painting up the models lately. Fortunately, Noble Knight's getting the rest of my models. At some point, I will have to go through them and bag them all up in like lots and stuff like that, so they're easier to deal with and evaluate and sell. And there might be a few Traveler miniatures in there that Traveler Starship miniatures that I end up keeping. But frankly, if I'm going to do Traveler Starship miniatures, I'm going to get the 3D printed ones from Second Dynasty. Those are quite nice. Not the big models. I'm talking the little, whatever the scale is. I'm not talking about the 28 millimeter things. I've got the small ships for that, and I think I've got the free trader as well. And as soon as I got those STLs, the printer broke. So it's another reason for me to get that thing working again. I have about 10% of a launch printed. Let me put it that way. I don't own an airbrush. I have never operated an airbrush. I have used spray paint in the past. Okay. So GMT recently moved it onto their tentative in 2026. At this point, anything that's 2026 tentative, I would expect we will not see until later in the year. It sounds like the stuff that they have in the printer is pretty much going to take care of them for Q1, probably. So, well, you got another vote. Ardicon info. Maybe I should make it a Patreon goal or something if I get to so many subscribers or patrons or whatever. Maybe through a convention. I built models as a kid. I was not particularly good at it. I was about as good at it as you can expect a 10 or 12 or whatever age I was at the time, year-old kid to be. Ollie's, which is a really, really low rent discount store around here, actually has quite a few military models. Well, they have like a lot of kits. They're all the same couple of kits of some ships nobody ever heard of. Roast beef on WEC. I'll tell you what, man, if we do Ardicon, I will do roast beef on WEC because I can do good roast beef. And I butchered the roast that I made on the 23rd. I butchered it myself too. And I mean that in both figurative and literal senses. We bought a whole whole chuck roll and I butchered it. And I thought, based on what my thermometer was telling me, I thought, oh my God, I overcooked this. I destroyed it. This is going to be like shoe leather. And it turned out to have been cooked absolutely perfectly. I did not, however, remove all of the connective tissue. So I still have quite a bit of beef left, and the dog is getting a lot of it. So Nemo's War is actually pretty neat looking, I gotta say. It's not something that I will buy just because it doesn't seem like the kind of thing I need to buy. And that's a solitaire. Is that a solitaire game, Nemo's War? Or am I merely assuming that it's a solitaire game because of who originally published it? So I can do beef on WEC. I can make bread too, including WEC rolls, which are not particularly hard to make, to be honest. But I mean, you can't get them around here. I don't think Dan is a real hoarder. I have hoarder tendencies. So I am the child of my parents in this respect. My dad loves to hang on to stuff forever just in case it might be needed, and my mom loves to throw stuff away. I love to do both of those things. I love to throw stuff away, clear out the space. WEC is a sort of like a Kaiser roll, except that it is covered in salt, and big heavy flake salt and caraway seeds. They are wonderful for sandwiches. And I also made homemade horseradish sauce, which was pretty good too. So yeah, it can be difficult. I can attest. So fortunately, my clutter stays down here, and as you can see, it's not normally too badly organized. I have a tendency to like leave stuff laying around that I pulled off the shelf to look at and didn't put it back. So let's see, this is fine. As long as you've got a place to put all the stuff, then I think you're okay. I don't have an unlimited amount of space to put all the stuff. So we will see how all that works out. I actually need to move my wall-mounted tweezer rack so I can put another shelf up in that corner. Cubano's really good too. Good Cubano's really good too. I got to have real Cubanos in Miami back in the 90s, I guess. And boy, it was something else. Yeah, it's WEC, W-E-C-K, not W-E-K. I don't know who that is. So I understand. And you know, I found this is so interesting that I'm going to pull it off the shelf. So back in the day, I had a filing cabinet. And the filing cabinet was a very cheap filing cabinet. It fell apart during a move. So what ended up happening was all of the files in the filing cabinet got packed out of it, sight unseen, stuffed in a couple of file boxes. And then those moved around with us for a couple of years before I looked at them again. Well, this past year in 2025, I went through that stuff. And guess what I found? Gamers Errata counter sheets. I had no idea that I even had these. I guess I'm showing you the address I grew up on, but this has replacements and variants 1995. There might be more than just 2 years in here, actually. There totally are. So this is 92, 94, 95 in this one. And there's like a little newsletter and stuff from Dean in here and everything. I had no idea that I had these. Had totally forgotten about it. This one is not coming out unassisted. This one is 1998 for this one, and it's got it looks like some OCS, TCS. Not much, actually, from OCS. A lot of TCS, though. Replacements and variants. So you never know what you're going to find. I found some old Rollmaster characters, for example, which is actually one of the things that I wanted to find. Yes, that is correct. It is a upstate New York thing. And there used to be, back in the day, there was a place called Buffalo Wild Wings in WEC, or BW3. And now it's just Buffalo Wild Wings, and they might have split into something else in other parts of the country. And they don't have WEC anymore. They got rid of that a long time ago. And that's one of the reasons I don't go there anymore. So I do feel like I have 4 large totes of games that need to eventually go away. And the intention is that those will be making their way up to Noble Knight at some point. Beef on WEC. Yeah, it's a delicious sandwich. It is a delicious sandwich. I have too many magazines. I did a magazine purge. And then almost as soon as I got home from Noble Knight last time, I found another box of friggin' Dragon magazines sitting around here. The Beef of WEC sounds like a municipality in England. It kind of does. I remember this magazine. This might even still be around, actually. I remember this magazine, but I never actually perused a copy to the best of my recollection, because it was all military miniatures. And at no point was I particularly into historical miniatures. At one point, I was into like sci-fi / fantasy miniatures, but never really did the historical stuff. Is that true? I might have done a historical thing or two at a con. Let me put it that way. For miniatures, but I never got into the rules. I never did the models, never did any of that. So, you know, this is a great idea. Who's this? Steepfeld or something like Conf Group Steepfeld or something like that. I've got some old issues of Fire and Movement. I got some old issues of the General. I got some old issues of Moves, and I would like to read all of those. A lot of those came out of interesting. A lot of those came out of the discount room at Noble Knight, actually. Well, the first time we were up there, which would have been about 2020, might have been 2019, I suppose. The first time we went up there, they just had like a lot of miscellaneous stuff in that room. Including a lot of magazines, including some old S&Ts, some of which had games. I walked out with, and they were all like $1 or something like that. So I walked out there with like half a dozen old S&Ts with games in them. and a pile of moves, and there was a whiff line. There was a whiff annual that I got up there, and there was the old lines of communication, John Kisner's magazine. I got some issues of that as well. So, and yeah, I agree with this. Was there a cat sighting? There was possibly a cat sighting. There could easily be a cat sighting here. Well, I hope to find out. We'll see. I usually end up playing the Soviets in these front games. Not always. Sometimes I would rather play the Germans just because of whatever situation it is sometimes more interesting on the German side. When we did the last time we played Third Winter, for example, I was the Germans. I think they're the more interesting side to play in that particular game. But that's not to say that it's not cool playing the Soviets, because I played the Soviets in a different Third Winter game and had a great time with that too. I will be having some more of this, actually. Yes. Agri Day points out the recent stuff from Little Wars TV with the Stalingrad stuff. I did actually check that out because I was like, oh, wait, is this miniatures? And it wasn't. But it was like, almost miniatures. That is exactly what this is. I must have got it on Etsy or someplace like that. So, yeah, it's good. It's good. Jams Earl Jones. That's a completely different individual. I knew who you were talking about, though, because that I consider that. I didn't see it in the theater because I would have been about 12 when it came out in the theater. And it was a, pretty racy movie by the standards of the 1980s. And I did see it on cable, probably within a year or two after that. And it became one of the formative fantasy movies, I think, of my childhood. I still think it is a fabulous movie with a fabulous soundtrack. It is not... It is not an astonishingly erudite film, but I think it's not. I think it's a more accurate portrayal of Conan the character than a lot of people seem to think, because they're kind of presupposing, based on the fact that it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, what kind of character Conan is in that. But I think it did a really good job portraying the Hyborian age, this kind of prehistoric civilization age. Yes, the orgy scene. Fantastic scene with one of the best pieces of music in it too, for that matter. We're okay, 11th Panzer. Trying to keep this straight and talk at the same time. This is not one of those games where I can just clip stuff and they go in a bin and I can just dump it all out and put them in baggies at the end. I can probably recite the vast majority of this. Admittedly, it's not a dialogue-heavy movie, but I could probably recite most of the screenplay. So, the second one was not as good. And the unofficial third one, which due to licensing problems ended up being Red Sonja instead. Arnold Schwarzenegger was supposed to have been playing Conan in that, and they couldn't nail the rights down because it was a different studio making it. Although it was the same producer, Dino De Laurentiis produced it. Oh, and the up until pretty recently, Arnold was saying, "Yeah, let's do another one. That would be great." They were talking about a King Conan with old Conan. That would have been awesome, and they didn't do that. Destroyer wasn't very good. That's why it had a lackluster performance. For those folks who I am aware that crappy stuff is often popular. Let's put it that way. The best example I can think of off the top of my head is probably the absolutely atrocious Transformers movies. And I mean, I liked the Transformers as a kid, so I went and saw that, the first one, and I was like, wow, this is bad. I couldn't tell what was going on. I think the directing was bad, the screenplay was bad, everything was bad. But a lot of times you can, in fact, infer, hey, this took a big nose, this particular property. I'm going to talk about Transformers here because that continues to be inexplicably popular today. sometimes it's not more complicated than this thing wasn't very good, right? People are doing a lot of talking about how Disney's ruining Star Wars and all this and all that and stuff like that. And you know, it's not more complicated than most of the stuff they're doing just isn't very good. So, oh, this was more than 15 years ago. This was more like 25 years ago. At one point, the rights to Arthur C. Clarke's novel Rendezvous with Rama, which is not one of my favorite Clarke pieces, because I think it's got a crappy ending and it spends way too much time with very uninteresting characters. I do remember Krull. Krull is actually a better movie than we give it credit for. Also an early Liam Neeson role, by the way. Mo from Mo's Game Table is here. Mo, thanks for stopping by. You know, I didn't really hate either Grace Jones, and I'm not a fan of Grace Jones particularly, but I didn't mind her or Wilt Chamberlain in that movie. There were other things that I didn't like about the movie. It's quite a lot more cartoonish throughout a good amount of the movie, but there's some cool things in the movie. The last boss battle against the evil statue was pretty cool. The Hall of Mirrors, they completely butchered not Thulsa Doom. Damn it, who's the other evil wizard? Toth Amon. They ruined him in that. And it's like, that was disappointing. By the time my first exposure to Conan, the character was Conan the Barbarian before I had read any of the books or even the comics. And that's what got me into the character. But by the time I saw Conan the Destroyer, I had read some of the original things. I'm like, well, this is nothing like Toth Amon is nothing like this dude. So which one of these is the one with Tom Baker in it? Tom Baker plays the evil wizard in one of the old Sinbad movies, and I can never remember which one it is. It might be Golden Voyage. So, and yes, Don Milius was the guy. I don't know that I'm buying this because it's really kind of kiddified, I think. There's a lot less, not just the sex, but there's a lot less gore in it too. And I think they intentionally toned it down in general. Now, there may have been some more adult material that got left at the screenplay level, that I believe. Those are pretty cool movies. Also, the original Clash of the Titans, Jason and the Argonauts, those were good movies. I did like Prey. Prey was good. I haven't really seen any of the other stuff, to be honest. Egg Day says that Blake 7 is now available on Blu-ray. And a lot of movies are no longer available on physical media. A lot of records are no longer available on CD. So you might have to, if you're a vinyl person. My brother has become a vinyl snob. So, all right, it is Golden Voyage. And he's a pretty cool villain, too. There's, I forget which one it is. Nicholas and Alexandria, perhaps, where Tom Baker plays Rasputin, which is another piece of genius casting. So, ain't got time to bleed. To be fair, every one of those characters in Predator, Shane Black wrote the screenplay. Every one of those characters in Arnold's group kind of stuck out as a strong and interesting character. Bill Duke's character was awesome. Jesse the Body's character was awesome. The Native American guy whose name I can't remember, he was awesome. Everybody was pretty cool in there. Everybody dies except for Arnold at the end. Red Sonja was a little gorier than Conan the Destroyer. It might have, because this thing got butchered in editing too back in the Thanksgiving television. I've never watched Mystery Science Theater 3000. Never once have I seen that. Am I done clipping for the evening? I think I'm going to be done clipping because I'm kind of sorted out here. So, yeah, Big Tom's still kicking it too. He was in the Shannara TV series that MTV tried to do that lasted, I think, a season. As the Elf King. It was ridiculous, but I mean, it wasn't any more ridiculous than anything else in that really not very good show. So we did subscribe to HBO again for the month, and I've got a whole bunch of stuff to catch up on. probably at the top of that list was Chernobyl. I watched the first episode. I was like, man, this is really heavy. And I never was in quite the mood to see the rest of it. So I probably will do that. And I'll probably watch the Dune Prophecy show, at least until I get irritated by it, which probably will happen. So Barbarella. Yes, this was a formative in a different way back when I saw it as a teenager. Let me put it that way. So Mo and Blue Ronin and Danny Seckery, all big fans of Chernobyl. I mean, it's either that or watch Andor again, right? I have at this point, I am 2 episodes away from having completed 4 complete viewings of both seasons of Andor. I liked it that much, and it is a tone inspiration for the Traveler game. Even though the Traveler setting is, and I guess we're transitioning into that. There is no like big empire in the Traveler setting that I have built for the Traveler campaign. That's kind of one of the points of the setting, is that it's really hard to start big empires and keep them going for long periods of time, which is something that you see in the official setting, and one of the things that I kind of wanted to get away from. So I would not expect it to be 100% accurate for any number of reasons. But you know, HBO, who knows what's going to happen now, but they're getting bought by, who knows what the fuck is happening. They're getting bought by either Netflix or Paramount. Paramount's takeover is hostile, but they're telling people to take the Netflix offer instead. I don't know what's going to happen. So Mo and I accidentally stepped on each other's toes last week, apparently, about they had to get rescheduled to Monday, and I didn't change, and I didn't. Mo texted me, and I didn't see the text until well after the show was over. So sorry about that. Both shows will be available for later viewing. I have not watched this. I will watch this. There's somebody else in Chernobyl who is now a notable individual, and I don't remember who it is. It's not like Stellan Skarsgård or Jared Harris or anybody like that. Yes, I am aware of this. I'm not going to go through Mongooses release schedule. They do have some of that. So I appreciate you letting me know, Mo. I just didn't get the message until it was too late. What games am I looking for to being released in 2026? All right, from GMT, I anticipated this question. So from GMT, I am most looking at the very top of my list is the one I have been waiting for the longest, which is Thunderbolt. But also on that list of highly anticipated games are Three Dog Deluxe, which I'm probably not going to get to anytime soon because we played it in the last edition not that long ago. There's Away Team from John Butterfield. That's, I don't think, a war game, but it's going to be, I think, a really cool game. And if you haven't seen it yet, check out last week's Chit Show where we talked to John Butterfield primarily about Away Team, as it turns out. I've already played a decent amount, actually, of Pacific War, and that's a great game, too. So from MMP, I am explicitly looking forward to No Turning Back. That's on the schedule right this minute. What else is on the Gala Beachhead game in the BCS magazine? I'm looking forward to that. What else do they have? That's pretty much it from MMP as far as new stuff that they have on pre-order at the moment. Lots of folks, I think, are going to jump on A House Divided. Oh, Pacific Chase. Okay, yeah. I think there's a good chance that this will be out in 2026, but I don't expect it to be until later in 2026. Rommel's Asparagus is trying to wrap his head around Goss, and it is indeed a lot. Once you actually start playing it, it's not as... It's easier to play than it feels like it's going to be from the rule book. Let me put it that way. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of dials and levers and switches, and there's a lot happening there. From New England Simulations, On Hell's Highway is another one that I'm very much looking forward to taking a look at. Somebody else from From Compass, I'm looking forward to Belter. I think we'll see that in 2026. I'm also looking forward to Mr. Lincoln's War, but I'm less confident that we'll see that in 2026. Also, again, not super confident for 2026 because it's been forever. The whatever we're calling the East Asian theater thing for Third World War, totally up for that. Schrodinger's carrier, indeed it is. No, it is an old Game Designers Workshop thing. So the original Belter, see how hard it is for me to get it off the shelf. When the Compass version comes out, I will surely do a video talking about the two different versions. Was in the big GDW flat box. It comes from the same period in which they were doing Traveler. It is not a Traveler product, but it really fits right into Traveler extremely well. And it's exactly what it sounds like. You are running mining ships, mining the asteroid belt, and turning your mining proceeds in for cash. This game would not be designed this way nowadays, but it's an old favorite of mine. So okay, Fifth Frontier War is still up there. I would say Away Team is probably a late 2026 release, I think. Hey, I will be delighted should this come out in 2026, like I said. And I guess this is I guess this is a favorite of Bill's, and I can see why. It's a really good game, but if you had the original version from 3W, the presentation was just awful. So the boards were awful. Doug from the Tabletop's Edge, thanks for coming by. Word is from the folks connected to New England Simulations is that it will probably be on pre-order pretty soon, and they're looking for an approximately mid-year release. So, For the Motherland is something I haven't really looked at particularly closely. I still need to get Greg Blanchett's game from Compass, the Spring Prelude. I still need to get that. I should probably pick up Burning Banners as well. And Aaron Armour is something I really wanted to. Well, it was one of those things where I said, like, oh no, I don't need that. And then I started seeing more about it. I think, this actually does look pretty cool. I have more Cold War Goes Hot stuff than I feel like I can really deal with. So there's that. That is one of the factors that led me to not get in on it. Well, you could get in on it. All right, I'm going to try to not dump anything here. But put that there, I guess. We're going to have to reorganize all of this stuff. This is 60th Motorized. Some miscellaneous comp group. Third Motorized. Legion. I don't know when this is coming out. Nuts does have something that I'm looking forward to. VUCA's got the new Tetsuya Nakamura game, Traces of Victory, I think. So that's going to be worth a look. From Legion, I'm positive there's something that I'm not thinking of right now. White Dog, I can't think of it. Nuts, I can't think of. Revolution Games is redoing Eric Lee Smith's seminal Civil War. Very much looking forward to seeing that. But I don't know for sure that is going to be a 2026 release. This is Third Motorized. But I hope that it is, because I'm looking forward to that too. 71st Infantry, 336th Infantry. We are all mixed up here. That goes here. Looks like we got Stugs. Reprint of Other Side of the Hill, which I haven't really looked at all, to be honest. 97th Infantry. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . All right. I'm just putting these one formation per compartment for now. And then when I finish the Germans, I will sort all that out so that it's 2 formations per compartment. So my guess would be no. It has the pre-order numbers. It hit its pre-order number years ago, and I think the delay is just like they changed their minds on how they were going to do this. It was at one point going to be a huge reprint of both Devil's Cauldron and Where Eagles Dare, updated to the 2nd edition rules, and then it wasn't. It was just going to be a more or less straight errata included reprint of the Devil's Cauldron. And now the current plan is it's going to be the Devil's Cauldron, but updated to the 2nd edition rules, which does suggest that maybe then they'll do Where Eagles Dare as well. So the Fallujah game, that's probably I'm thinking of a different Fallujah game. I'm thinking of the one that appeared in Paper Wars is the one I'm thinking of. Castel Nuovo did some really interesting stuff, and it felt like they were making a big splash, and it feels like they have since then kind of disappeared off the map. So Urban Ops, they were playing this at SD Hist last November 2024. This is in fact the wrong glass to drink this stuff out of, but it's fine. So yeah, I think there's some really pretty interesting stuff coming in Wargaming this year. I expect the trends that we have been observing for the last several years in the greater Wargaming space to continue. I expect to see a lot of solitaire games either released or announced. I expect to see a lot of crossover games either released or announced, and a lot of historical non-war games to be released or announced. I think those are things that we have seen on the rise over the last 5 years, and I think we will continue to see all of that this year. But we'll see, if there's more economic disruption too, and that could throw the whole industry into a tailspin very easily, as it almost did earlier this year. So I mean, a lot of these, there was talk when Compass was redoing Third World War, whether there was going to be like an updated order of battle to reflect more current research, which is a lot better than what they had available to them in the 80s when those games were originally released, late 80s. There was a lot of pushback from the fans of Third World War against that too. There were strident voices on either side of that debate. I would suspect that an updated order of battle would completely blow the balance of that game. And I think it's such a good game now that even though it is historically implausible as it stands, I think it's still a rock solid game. The Next War series is a series that I would love to get to at some point. I did not order the new Next War Taiwan because I have the last printing, and I'm aware that there are some updates. I do not care. So, honestly, if you're just looking for something that's I'm pretty sure this is not something that's available anymore from MMP. But I would look at Iron Curtain if you like SCS and you want to have like a sandbox, a Cold War sandbox to play in. I think it's hard to beat Iron Curtain. So Next War Taiwan and Next War Korea are the ones that I'm officially the most interested in. I probably would do Taiwan first. I've got 3 or 4. I don't know how many expansions I have. I think expansion number 4 is on P500 right now. I think I have the first 3 expansions. And I have all of the games except for Iran, which, I don't know. I don't know how interested in that I am. Next War Poland would be cool to play too. Although there are some revised estimates of Russian military strength floating around now too, if you know what I'm saying. So, looking at, however, GMT's P500 stuff, I'll look at the prospectus to see if there's anything that I missed. There's the expansion for I Napoleon, and I haven't even really played I Napoleon yet. I fiddled with it a little bit. This sounds super duper promising. Doug from the Tabletop's Edge, a YouTube channel you should definitely be subscribed to. Seconds on me on Iron Curtain, excellent Cold War game, unique in its conception. It's really neat as like a Cold War sandbox too. Henry is coming, 1848 Springtime of Nations. I'm looking forward to that. I wouldn't necessarily say it's at the top of my list because I don't know that much about it, but it's on order. So, Ukraine 43 third edition. I'll pick that up from GMT, but that's really kind of a filling in the gap in the existing library on that. High Napoleon, Queen of the Skies. Very interested in seeing where Herman takes. Are we talking about Tattered Flags? Or are we talking about Black Swan? Because I know they're doing Black Swan next. The next Black Swan game, same series as Most Fearful Sacrifice and Rocket Chickamauga. That next one they're going to do over there is going to be Antietam, which is going to be pretty good. My confidence is high. So, we got anything else here that I missed? Musket and Pike Dual Pack number 2. Order an Opportunity by Bezarpone, and that looks pretty good. Cuius Regio is definitely a title that I'm looking forward to. That is coming pretty soon. I expect to see that sometime around the end of Q1. So, Red Storm second printing has not hit its pre-order number yet, but it did go out of print fairly quickly, and I've played it. It's solid. Well, I mean, this is a consideration, frankly, for Perfidious Albion for the next War Poland as well, right? Russia got themselves embroiled in Ukraine and has yet to unembroil themselves, despite powerful friends. And Herman's doing Antietam in both. That's even better, to be honest. Tattered Flag, Hornet's Nest. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, there's I could see some truth to this, but it doesn't really feel like that to me. It actually feels a little more like Legion of Honor to me, but it's not really nearly as detailed as Legion of Honor. Hornet's Nest is, that'd be Shiloh. I'm thinking of I don't know, one of the various things. That didn't come out good. So, well, that's the danger of doing these contemporary topics, right? And it might be part of the reason why for quite a long time we didn't see much on contemporary topics in wargaming, because there's always a good chance that more recent scholarship or current events will completely unseat the rational basis of your game. But then again, in the last few years, we've seen that maybe that's less important than people think, because we've seen a huge resurgence in Cold War Goes Hot content across wargaming from, not just that, but, the Next War series from GMT has kind of been I think, kind of premier modern near future stuff, in the same vein as things like the Next War were back in the 70s, right? So yeah, exactly. The Poles are rearming and for who knows why. And next war Poland seems maybe like a bit fanciful at this point, given what we have learned since it released. But that said, you never know, and the game still might be good. So well, I am not going to comment on any of this because I don't consider myself to be fluent enough in the situation over there. But let's say that we have not done ourselves any favors in the region. Michael Pratt says he seems to recall that SPI's October War was actually being readied for release when the Yom Kippur War broke out, and they had to modify it to reflect what happened. This is a Mark Herman question. This may be true. It was definitely right around the same time, so this wouldn't shock me if that proved to be the case. So now, if you do like historical stuff or far future, unless it's more recent history, then how different is the order of battle for a game like Guderian's Blitzkrieg, the first one, going to be from Guderian's Blitzkrieg 2, which was released like 20 or however many years it was later. I know that the OBs are different, and I'd say they're substantially different, but I'm not sure they're as different as we would see in like 1980 Cold War goes hot type of situation, where our best estimates of Soviet and Warsaw Pact capabilities were a lot of guesswork. So that was Sinai. That was released around the October War. Sinai is actually a sharp looking game, I think, for when it was released, which would have been 73. So, all right. So we have 15 minutes. So that sounds like a great. I've got Oil War too, actually. Joe, thanks for stopping by. When was the big? So the big oil shortage where people were like lined up around the block to buy gas and stuff, that would have been a little later than this, as I recall. So it didn't remain a laughing stock long. If that's the case. Fatal Alliances is awesome. I love Fatal Alliances. So all right. Well, your Afghan buddy is not wrong about this. We have not dispensed ourselves well over there. And this is true too. The drone warfare is, important now, right? All right. So let's talk about Traveler, because I'm running Traveler right now. We will be resuming Team Agamemnon's campaign this Friday. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to do a video about this, about kind of how I set the universe up and what some of the principles, which are all like bedrock Traveler principles anyway. Oh, sure, it was around 1979. Gotcha. That sounds right, because I vaguely remember it as a kid. But quite vaguely, because I was certainly not involved in the purchasing of gasoline in 1979 when I was 8. So Year of the Rat was another one where it came out when like that was going on. So recent release on the Falklands War. The most recent release I can think of off the top of my head is Goose Green from MMP. It's part of the TCS series. There's been a couple other games on the Falklands War over the last few years, but maybe 10 years. Yes, it is, Mike Reed. Yes, indeed it is. Also Doom. Doom's children, the children of Doom. Time enough for the earth in the grave. Anyway. Oh, no. I think it feels really bold now for companies to do that. I mean, when the war in Ukraine broke out, it didn't take too long for wargamers to start asking the question of, hey, is anybody doing a game on this? And a couple of people did, or said they were going to. And the only one of those things that is both moving along and looks like it's actually going to be good is David Doctor and Mark Herman's Defiance. So So anyway, so the campaign's going well. I'm still feeling very rusty as far as GMing technique goes because it's been a long time since I've run anything this stable. Now that we are about to be into January, what is the Friday the 1st? Friday is the 2nd. Now that we're about to be in January, we're going to have, I think, 3 weeks of 2, 9, 2, 9, 16, 20. Yeah. So we will have 4 weeks of uninterrupted play. There are 2 different games set in the same universe, but they are sort of in different subsectors. So they're not crossing paths at the moment. One of the best ideas that I think I had was to generate all the characters together, which was difficult. It was difficult wrangling 10 people for that and getting it all done in 5.5 hours or whatever it took. But I think a lot of people are going, well, I think on the one hand that a lot of people who've played this series will disagree with Mike Reed here. I think where if you're just playing the basic game, I think this is very true. But if you start adding the advanced game stuff with all the air and the other things, the other features of the game system, I'm not going to lie, it does have a lot of chrome. But I also think that it's one of the better examples on that kind of topic that we've seen in recent years. So, or tasteless games. This is a future show topic right here. So, Traveler's going well. I'm not going to talk about Mongoose's production schedule because I'll wait till I see stuff. Their most recent release is Cluster Truck, heavily inspired by BJ and the Bear and Smokey and the Bandit. And it looks like it might be fun, and I'll, of course, pick it up. But it's running it, I doubt it very much. It is set in a sort of semi-self-contained corner of the Trojan Reach sector. So I am much more absorbed and concerned with the Traveler setting that I'm running stuff in right now. And I did try to make it 43 pages of Chrome. Richard Berg would be proud. What can I say? Okay, so Mike Reed says he played the advanced game and it still felt that way. But the alternative air system made things a bit better. I haven't even looked at that. So Shelf of Shame Games. That's a pretty good name for a game company, actually. Plan for a new battle. Yeah, okay. We're bringing battleships back now. That sounds like a great idea. I'm pretty sure it was in either expansion 1 or expansion 2. Something like that. Jeff Beeler is here, and he is playing in the Traveler game. And in fact, we'll be playing on Friday as we resume their little 4-jump trip to an agricultural world to sort out the political problem that they have there. There's some interesting things to do on the way. So to me, part of like the core gameplay loop in Traveler is traveling, right? You're moving around from planet to planet, and the planets are all different. So I built a universe that kind of leans into that, right? Where there are some small interstellar states. There's the Outer Worlds Union, which is the biggest interstellar state around here, which kind of spreads across 3 subsectors. Has about 40 worlds in it. That's about as big as interstellar states get in this setting, in the setting current time. So I also built, this is Defiance, actually, from Mark Herman and David Doctor. Is an evolution of the old Flashpoint Golan system, as I recall. And I'll remind everybody to click the like button. Well, you might be finding one. We'll see what happens this week. So, all right, folks. I think we have just a couple minutes here, so I might as well stick it out for another 7 minutes. Well, this is what this is the lesson that World War II in the Pacific taught us, was that the carriers were much more useful assets than the battleships were. So, but I'm not really inclined to get more into it than that. So Now, this I think is a pretty good point that Mike Reed is making here. Next War is pretty much an I go you go deal, and I can understand why some folks might prefer a system that is less I go you go than the Next War series is. I totally understand, because I tend to favor games that aren't purely I go you go nowadays too. Sometimes that's some level of interactivity in the turn sequence, but more often for me that's things like GCACW or BCS or things like that, where it's more of an alternating you go, I go, you go, I go, you go, I go, turns over type of deal. So yeah, Mark is working on a version of Empire of the Sun that will be in the Mediterranean. Very excited to see that. And there was something else. That brought to mind too, and I don't remember what it was because it's been a day. Let's put it that way. It's been a whole week, to be completely honest. All right. So, but my top priority for Wargaming this week is to get the giveaways out from the big 250 show. So we're gonna do our best to get that done as we wrap the year up here. I think we can get rid of that. All right. So, folks, yeah, I mean, I just feel like there's more interactivity in this play tempo, and I think I generally prefer it nowadays. But that's not to say I don't play I go you go games, because still playing plenty of those. And Whiff is pretty much an I go you go, more or less an I go you go thing. Again, with some interactivity, especially with naval and air and things like that. Or as Jeff Beeler points out, reaction moves during an enemy phase. But yes, it is, because I ate most of a cow. The roast was like 7 pounds raw and about 5.5 cooked, and it turned out okay. So, but just okay. It wasn't as good as I expected. The flavor was there, but it was the butchery was not great. I'm real rusty at that too. We're gonna try that again at some point. But next time I'm not going to buy the smallest truck roll they have either, because this thing went through some kind of mutilation machine at the butcher yard, and it was kind of torn up when I opened the bag. So I did not sous vide it, actually. I actually have a sous vide thing. I don't have a container for it though, so doing like big roasts is sous vide, where you'd have to kind of keep it going for like a day or two, then I'm a little less capable of doing that. Oh, wow. David Imperato says, all the talk about Iran reminded me that Richard Queen, one of the hostages held by the Iranians in 1979, was a playtester for SPI's The American Civil War game. I did not know that. That's very interesting. Very interesting indeed. All right, folks, I think we're going to wrap this up. I do have a big stock pot, so that is going to work. We're going to wrap this up tonight. So the Chit Show will be back next week. We've got a special counter clipping show coming up at some point in the next couple of weeks, but it won't be next week. And I'll talk more about that hopefully next week once the schedule is ironed out. But I think it's going to be... Oh, I could swear I heard about this, thinking about this. And hey, if you got to have something, this is not a terrible choice. So I have no opinion on Omaha steaks, no opinion whatsoever. I'd rather find a local butcher. We've actually got some country butcher out by us that you can get weirder cuts and things like that. All right. Christoph de Klerk is having a fine old time this evening, as far as anybody can tell. Christoph, you have our best wishes and a happy new year, and a happy new year to everybody here. We will not speak again until after 2025 is thankfully behind us. So I want to thank everybody for watching. If you haven't done so already, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that. And there's a whole bunch of ways to support the channel down in the video description. Take special note of the affiliate link for our good friends at Noble Knight Games, the official sponsors of the Counter Clipping Show. That helps out the channel in a big way, as well as the patrons of Ardwulf Lair who keep this train rolling here. So everybody have a great rest of the night. We'll see you all again soon.